Why hello there, it's good to see you guys on this bright sunny day. Well, actually it's miserable outside, which is why I have to shoot in here with the lights on. You may recognize this camera from many of my previous videos. It's the Insta360 One X and it's my favorite 360 camera in early 2019. I've already made not one, but 2 reviews about this thing. Have you seen them yet? Those reviews will tell you 94% of what this camera can do. Wait a minute, where's the other 6%? You might be thinking. Well, the other 6% of stuff this camera can do came after I made those reviews. The firmware updates have been rolling in, and this camera can do a lot more things than it could do even 2 months ago. So in this video, we're going to look at 10 new features of the Insta360 One X. The first new update is HDR video. This is one of my favorite things about the photos taken with the camera is you can use inbuilt HDR to get really good dynamic range on your photos in basically any kind of lighting situation. No doubt HDR photo is one of the biggest pros of this camera, and now it shoots HDR video. That's just another pro to add to the list of pros. HDR video is a really rare thing to see from any kind of camera really, so don't expect miracles, because if you think about it, what HDR is it's blending 3 different exposures into one, and this is easy to do with photos because a photo is taken like that, whereas a video is taken over several seconds and minutes. This makes it kind of hard to shoot at 3 different exposures at once. So while the results haven't been as impressive as HDR photos, I've noticed a significant improvement in the dynamic range of all videos I shoot with the One X in HDR video mode. The next new feature of the One X is you can now create 3D tiny planets. You know the 3D photos we've been seeing all over Facebook? Yeah, you can do that with the One X now. You will need a dual lens iPhone to do this, so don't get too excited Android users. Maybe they'll add it to Android soon, but at the moment it's just for iPhone. And what they've done is cleverly simulated depth in tiny planets, so when you move it around on your phone after you've uploaded it to Facebook, it moves around as if it was shot in 3D. I found the effect to be quite cool, but since the effect is still quite new, the manipulation abilities aren't as good as editing any other kind of 360 photo. No doubt this is a bug they'll fix in the next firmware update, but I found this effect to be pretty good. Feature number 3 is looping, and this is really similar to boomerangs you might see on Instagram, where it takes a 3 to 5 second snippet of a video and reverses them, except you can do this in 360. So you get to choose your start angle and your end angle. So if you're dealing with any kind of action, this effect is going to be surprisingly effective because it freezes that moment in time and replays it forwards and backwards over and over and over and over. And you get the idea. The next feature is called stats, and this is very similar to the G metrics we saw with the Garmin Verb, where it shows metrics on screen like speed, elevation, and the course you've taken live as you play back your video. If you're using this feature, be sure to turn on GPS mode before you take your shot. Next, they've given us the ability to upload both 360 photos and videos to Google Street View. If you're a Google Street View photographer, and not just that, but a lazy Google Street View photographer, and you can't be bothered taking photo after photo after photo, you can just record a video, walk around your location, then upload to Google Street View through the app, and it will take photos from your video and place them throughout the map. Please use this feature wisely. A lot of people that buy a 360 camera instantly think they're a certified Google Street View photographer, and they'll upload poorly taken photos with motion blur and overexposure. Don't be that guy. Make sure your photos and videos look really good before you share them to Google Street View. I'm a Google Street View photographer. Ooh. The next feature is to do with post-production, and if you're someone that doesn't like editing in the app, which I don't know why you could be that kind of person because the app is so good, but if you are the kind of person that prefers editing on desktop, Insta360 have just released a brand new software, Insta360 Studio for One X version 3.2.1, and it allows you to not only stitch your 5.7K video, but you can reframe it and create stylish animations with your footage. This software is really awesome, and it's the best free 360 video reframing app you can get for computer. By the way, it works for footage with any 360 camera. If you haven't seen my tutorial yet for the new Insta360 Studio, check it out on my channel. Next, they've finally introduced the no-stitch Premiere editing workflow. So if you use Premiere as your main video video editor, you no longer have to stitch your footage before you edit it. You just import the INSV files to Premiere, edit your 360 video, and export as you normally would. That's one step out of the workflow and 10 more minutes in your day to go play a Pokemon raid. The next feature is a subtle one, but a really good one, and it's to do with the way you view your 360 photos and videos. Sometimes your work can look too fisheye-ish. Yeah, I just invented a word there. It can look too fisheye-ish, and which means essentially it's too wide and bulbous. It's like it was obviously shot with a wide angle lens, and that's not always the most flattering viewpoint to watch back your 360s. To address this, they've introduced linear mode, which essentially de-fisheyes the image. So when you look around, it looks like a much more normal viewpoint and that it wasn't shot on a wide angle lens. Again, this is subtle, but it is very effective. They've added a whole bunch of new aspect ratio options in the app that include the linear version and the normal wide angle version of each aspect ratio. Also, I noticed they added a 2:3:5:1 aspect ratio to the app, which is the cinematic aspect ratio, which I use way too much in film school, and it made my videos 2.35 times more pretentious.
I sat and contemplated my own existence. Was I to live or was I to die? That was the question.
Next, you have the ability to pull high resolution reframe 360 photos from your 360 videos. In the app, there's now a screenshot option, which means you can now freeze a moment in time. So if you have a lot of action in your scene and you want to stop just as you're in the air and save that as a conventional photo, you can now do that with the maximum amount of resolution possible. This will work especially well if you shoot in slow motion. I'd recommend 4K 60 frames a second, because that way you're not sacrificing too much resolution, yet you can slow the moment down just enough to get a clear, crisp image. Finally, feature number 10 is something they're not really advertising, but I've noticed it a lot in the Facebook group. Since this camera is so popular, lots of people own them now and lots of people are breaking them. I've seen countless photos in the Insta360 Facebook group of people that chipped their lens or scratched it because the wind blew the camera over, and they're begging for help. And what I discovered is Insta360 offer a lens replacement service. You simply contact them through the One X app, tell them about your unfortunate camera, then you send it back, they fix it, and they send it back to you. Now, this isn't free, so don't get too excited, but I've seen on average people are paying around $100 US on average. I think they charge per lens, so it'll be twice as much if you break both lenses, but still, what's that compared to having to pay the full price again for a second camera? I consider this to be a really good feature, and it's really decent of them to do that. I can't think of any other camera companies that offer this service. Almost every other 360 camera would have to be written off entirely, with the exception of the Garmin Verb and the Gear 360 2016, which both have replaceable lenses. So that's something that's just good to know, because it's not the cheapest 360 camera out there. So that's it. Those are the 10 features. Be sure to update your camera's firmware, update the mobile app and the desktop app to get the latest and greatest features for the One X. Oh, and join the Insta360 community Facebook group if you haven't already. There's so much valuable information in that group. I'm learning new things I can do with this camera every single day from posts I see in that group. If you haven't bought this camera yet, but you'd like to, check out the link in the description, because all purchases will come with a free selfie stick. So that's it from me. Hit the like button if you like this video, and hit the subscribe button if you want more cool videos based around the latest and greatest 360 cameras. Oh, and One X users, what's your personal favorite feature of the One X and why? Let me know down there. Now, don't forget to get out and capture your world in 360 today. I know I will be. And I'll see you very, very soon.